You get all of the Fell Xenologue units added to your party once you complete all 6 chapters of the DLC. Zelestia, Nell, and Rafal will come at level 20 while already in their special classes, and Gregory and Madeline will join at level 1 in their advanced classes. One thing to note, these higher unit levels could create a problem for you by overscaling your divine paralogs if you're still very early in the game, so keep that in mind. You'll also sadly need to do the whole DLC each time you want to add these characters to your party. Zelestia is one of those units, and I made this guide to go over some of her basic details and use cases. This table demonstrates all of Zelestia's unit stat growths, her class stat growths, and the combined effective growths while she's in her special class, Melusine. She has an innate sword proficiency, her passive skill Friendly Boost grants hit plus 20 to allies within 2 spaces for 1 turn when she defeats an enemy unit. This is really helpful, even on things like bosses or in dives, where she'll usually be killing units, and now everyone around her gets an extra 20 hit and increases their accuracy. Her base character stat growths are 60 HP, 35 strength, 35 magic, 35 dex, 50 speed, 30 defense, 35 res, 20 luck, and 5 build. Her Melusine class skill, Soulblade, could also be extremely effective, since most enemy units will usually either have very high defense or high res. She also shows up at level 20 with 2000 SP to start, so especially with any kind of well additions, you can basically start her up with any skills that you want. This is how her base stats compare to 2 similar units, Ivy and Hortensia. They're the only 2 other tome-using flying classes. She obviously starts out with significantly higher stats, but she's also level 20 in her special class. You can get her at any point in the story, though it's not that helpful to get her too early on since she's a higher internal level and will just be stealing experience from the other units that you're trying to build. This last chart shows their compared effective growth rates. This is how they stack up if they're all currently in their unique advanced class or, in Zelestia's case, her special class. You'll notice that she's a lot more well-rounded than the other 2. From first glance, it might seem like she is an upgraded Ivy, but really you can tell that her stats are much more distributed towards having higher HP, having pretty good strength stat, and higher speed. It's much more even since she uses both swords and tomes to attack. Ivy does start with higher build, which will help balance out the speed difference a bit depending on what they have equipped. Hortensia is clearly just built different as a support unit essentially. On to classes. I think her unique class is probably best. It aligns with her sort of all-around good stat distribution while letting her be a tome-carrying flyer who has access to A-level swords and S-level tomes. Since she does have more strength growth, you can do something like a Griffin Knight or a Wyvern Knight, but it's hard not to see those as a sort of downgrade. Meanwhile, something like a Sage is pretty wasteful of all her strength growth, and something like Mage Knight just has less mobility, lower tome proficiency, while granting very little in return. In terms of emblem pairings, all the DLC emblems are sort of overpowered, but I'm trying to run her with Camilla right now. Her engaged weapons include a double attacking tome, maybe you can quad if you add Speed Taker, or plus speed as one of her passives, a magic axe, a high might physical axe, which can round out her weapon triangle effectiveness, and let her hit a wide area fairly hard with Dark Inferno. Soar also adds an extra move, so she'd be at 9 movement total when engaged, and I think she can benefit from the extra health, speed, and resistance since she's not quite as defensively oriented as Ivy either. Pairing her with Emblem Celica would increase her mobility with Warp Ragnarok, and she might also be able to take down multiple enemies using Echo with her boosted magic attack. Having Sorum as her emblem will give her access to multi-hit attacks with Cataclysm. She can probably even wipe out some pretty big groups of enemies on her own thanks to Flare and her high health and generally bulky build. If you're running Zelestia now or plan to, let me know what builds you find interesting or what's worked out well for you.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yes. Very delicious.